I sold my house to save my marriage. But before that decision ever became real, before it turned into papers and signatures and empty rooms, there was a long stretch of quiet suffering that no one ever saw. People imagine moments like this as dramatic turning points, loud arguments, slammed doors, tears spilling onto floors. But the truth is much quieter. It begins in the spaces between words, in the pauses after a question goes unanswered, in the feeling that something precious is slowly slipping away while you still pretending everything is fine. There was a time when silence in our home felt peaceful. We used to sit together without speaking, comfortable in each other's presence, the kind of silence that didn't need to be filled. But that silence changed. It became heavy. It lingered too long. It felt like a wall slowly being built between us, brick by brick, without either of us saying who laid the first one. I noticed it most in the evenings. I would come home tired, carrying the weight of the day, expecting at least a shared moment, a glance, a question about how things went. Instead, I'd find her distracted, her attention elsewhere, her smile delayed or absent altogether. At first, I blamed life. Work stress, fatigue, the ordinary erosion that time brings into every relationship. I told myself this was normal, that long marriages weren't fueled by excitement, but by endurance. Love, I believed, was about staying even when it felt difficult, especially when it felt difficult. So I stayed quiet. I swallowed my doubts. I convinced myself that patience would fix what honesty might destroy. When we first bought the house, everything felt solid. It wasn't just a financial achievement. It was emotional proof that we were building something permanent. I remember standing in the doorway on the first night, boxes everywhere, the smell of fresh paint still in the air, and feeling an overwhelming sense of arrival. This was it. This was the place where our future would unfold, where we'd grow older, where problems would be solved, not escaped. Those early years were filled with routines that felt sacred. Weekend mornings with coffee at the same spot near the window. Evenings spent cooking together, sharing small stories from the day. We didn't need much. We needed each other. And for a long time, that felt like enough. But people don't change all at once. They drift. They pull away slowly, often without even realizing it themselves. I noticed the first real shift in how she looked at me. Not anger, not resentment. Something worse. Distance. As if I was becoming familiar in the most dangerous way. Predictable, unnoticed, replaceable. Conversations became shorter. Questions felt forced. When I asked if something was wrong, she always said no. And I always accepted that answer because I wanted to believe it. The money issues began quietly too. A late bill here. A credit card balance there. She explained it away easily, confidently. I didn't question her. I trusted her. Trust was the one thing I thought we had unbreakable. I picked up extra work without complaining. I skipped things I wanted. I told myself this was partnership, carrying more weight when the other person was struggling. What I didn't realize then was that I was slowly erasing myself in the process. Every time I ignored a doubt, every time I chose peace over truth, I stepped a little further away from my own instincts. I became someone who believed love meant absorbing pain silently. Someone who thought asking too many questions meant disloyalty. The house started to feel different. Not unsafe, just empty in a way that had nothing to do with furniture. I'd sit in rooms that once felt warm and feel like a guest in my own life. She spent more time on her phone, took calls in another room, stayed up later than usual. None of it was enough to accuse her of anything, but it was enough to make me uneasy. And unease, when ignored, grows teeth. There were nights I lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling, wondering when exactly things had shifted. Was it something I did? Something I stopped doing? I replayed conversations, searched for mistakes, tried to find a version of myself that could fix what was breaking. I never once considered that the problem might not be something I could solve alone. The night she finally broke down, it felt sudden, but it wasn't. It was the result of months of pressure quietly piling up. She sat at the table, her shoulders shaking, tears falling freely, telling me she felt trapped, that she was overwhelmed, that the financial stress was crushing her. Hearing her like that awakened something protective in me, something instinctive. I didn't ask for details. I didn't press for clarity. All I saw was the person I loved in pain, and I wanted it to stop. That's when the idea surfaced, not as a plan, but as a possibility. The house, our biggest asset, our safety net. I didn't say it immediately. I let it sit between us, unspoken, heavy, and then I said it. Slowly, carefully, as if speaking too loudly might break something forever. I told her we could sell it, that we could start over, that things mattered less to me than she did. The look on her face in that moment is burned into my memory. Shock, followed by relief, followed by something that looked like gratitude. She hugged me tightly, cried into my shoulder, told me I was saving her. And in that moment, I felt needed again. Useful. Important. I took that feeling and held on to it like proof that I was doing the right thing. Preparing the house for sale felt surreal. I walked through rooms touching walls, remembering moments I didn't realize would someday feel like ghosts. Every box packed felt like a farewell. Still, I told myself this was temporary. That sacrifice would bring us back to each other. That love would reward loyalty. When we moved into the smaller apartment, I convinced myself it was a fresh chapter. A reset. She seemed lighter at first. Kinder. More present. I allowed myself to hope. Hope is dangerous when it's built on silence, but I didn't know that yet. What I knew was that I had given up something enormous for her. And because of that, I believed, deeply, blindly, that it had to mean something. That belief would carry me forward. And eventually, it would break me. After we moved into the apartment, I told myself that discomfort was temporary, that cramped rooms and thinner walls were a small price to pay for peace. I believed that once the pressure lifted, once the debt stopped suffocating us, she would come back to me fully. I kept repeating that thought until it felt like truth. Every morning, I woke up before her, watching her sleep, searching her face for signs of relief, for proof that what I'd done mattered. Sometimes I convinced myself I saw it. Other times, I noticed how even in sleep, she seemed far away, like her mind was already somewhere I couldn't reach. I changed my routines to match hers. If she stayed up late, I stayed up too. If she wanted silence, I gave it. If she wanted space, I swallowed the ache and stepped back. I told myself love was flexibility, that this was what adapting looked like. But adaptation slowly turned into erasure. I stopped talking about my day because she seemed distracted. I stopped sharing worries because I didn't want to add to her burden. I became careful with my words, editing myself constantly, afraid that one wrong sentence would push her further away. She thanked me often in those weeks. That was the strange part. She said she didn't know what she would have done without me. She said selling the house saved her. Each time she said it, I felt a small, sharp pain behind my ribs. Because even then, I sensed that I had saved her, but not us. Gratitude is not intimacy. Relief is not closeness. I didn't know how to explain that without sounding selfish, so I stayed quiet. There were moments, brief and misleading, when things felt almost normal. We cooked together once, bumping into each other in the small kitchen, laughing about how little counter space we had. She rested her head on my shoulder during a movie, her weight familiar, comforting. I held on to those moments desperately, replaying them in my head when doubt crept in. I told myself healing wasn't linear. I told myself patience was everything. But the nights told a different story. She slept lighter now, waking often, checking her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Sometimes she'd step into the bathroom late at night, the door closing softly, her voice barely audible. When she came back to bed, she'd say it was work or a friend who couldn't sleep. I nodded. I always nodded. I had become skilled at convincing myself that explanations were enough, even when they left something unresolved in the air. I started noticing how she spoke about the future. Before, it had always been we. We'll do this. We'll go there. We'll rebuild. Now it was vague, non-committal. We'll see. Maybe. I don't know yet. Each time, it felt like a quiet subtraction, like something being removed from an equation I didn't fully understand. The money situation improved, at least on the surface. The most urgent debts were gone. Bills stopped arriving with red warnings. By all logic, things should have felt lighter. Instead, the distance between us felt heavier. I wondered if the struggle had been the only thing holding us together. If once it was gone, there was nothing left to fight side by side. I began to doubt myself in ways I never had before. I wondered if I was imagining things, if stress had made me paranoid. I questioned my instincts, told myself I was projecting fear onto normal behavior. I didn't want to be the kind of man who accused without proof. I didn't want to be controlling. I didn't want to be wrong. One evening, I tried to talk to her. Not confrontational, not emotional, just honest. I told her I felt like I was losing her, that even though we were physically closer in that small apartment, she felt further away than ever. She listened quietly, eyes fixed on the floor. When I finished, she said she was tired. that she didn't have the energy for heavy conversations, that she needed time. Time. That word became her shield. Every concern I raised dissolved into it. I gave her time the way I had given her money, the house, my certainty. Freely, without conditions. I told myself that love was about waiting. What I didn't realize then was that while I was waiting, she was moving on. The shift was subtle but undeniable. She started dressing differently when she went out, more carefully, like appearances mattered again. She was more protective of her phone than ever, taking it everywhere, even into the shower. When I asked casually who she was talking to, she answered too quickly, too smoothly. I recognized the tone because I had used it myself when I didn't want to explain something. I started having trouble sleeping. My mind refused to rest, replaying conversations, analyzing silences. I lay awake listening to her breathing, wondering what thoughts were moving through her head, what version of her life she was imagining. Sometimes I felt foolish for worrying. Other times, I felt foolish for ignoring the obvious. The day I came home early was unremarkable in every other way. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't searching for answers. I was just exhausted and unwell, my body demanding rest. As I unlocked the door, I expected quiet. Instead, I heard her voice, low and soft, threaded with an intimacy I hadn't heard in a long time. It stopped me in place. I didn't understand the words at first. My brain refused to connect them, but my body reacted before my mind could catch up. My chest tightened. My hands went cold. I stood there, invisible, listening to a version of my wife I hadn't heard in months. She wasn't tired. She wasn't distant. She was present, engaged, alive. She spoke about her day, about things she never told me anymore. She laughed quietly, the sound controlled, private. When she said his name, something inside me broke in a way that made no noise at all. I didn't move closer. I didn't interrupt. I stepped back, slowly, as if any sudden movement might shatter the fragile reality I had just discovered. I left the apartment without making a sound, the door closing behind me with a finality I didn't yet understand. Outside, the city continued as if nothing had changed. People walked past me, talking, laughing, living their lives. I felt detached from all of it, like I had slipped out of my own story and was watching it from a distance. I walked for hours without direction, replaying everything, every choice, every sacrifice. The house, the money, the waiting. None of it had stopped this moment from happening. That night, I didn't confront her. I didn't sleep either. I sat on a bench under a streetlight until the sky began to lighten, thinking about how love can turn into something unrecognizable without you noticing when it changed. I realized that I had been trying to save the past, while she had been quietly building a future that didn't include me. By morning, I knew nothing would ever feel the same again. After she moved out, the apartment felt unfamiliar, even though nothing had changed. The walls were the same, the furniture sat where it always had, but the air felt thinner, like something essential had been removed. Mornings were the hardest. I would wake up expecting to hear her moving around, the soft sounds of life starting beside me, and then reality would settle in slowly, painfully. Silence became my constant companion. I didn't hate it at first. I thought I deserved it. I tried to distract myself with work, long hours, extra shifts, anything that kept my mind busy. But grief has a way of finding cracks. It waited until I was alone, until the noise faded, and then it returned stronger. I replayed conversations in my head, searching for the moment where everything went wrong. I wondered if there had been a version of me who could have saved us without selling the house, without losing myself. That thought haunted me the most. Friends noticed I was different, quieter, slower. They asked questions I didn't know how to answer. Saying, "We're done," felt too small for what had happened. How do you explain that you gave everything you had, and it still wasn't enough? I avoided those conversations, choosing solitude instead. It felt safer not to explain. The financial reality hit me later than the emotional one. Without the house, without the shared income, everything felt fragile. I downsized again, cut back, learned how little I actually needed to survive. There was a strange clarity in that. Losing so much stripped life down to its basics. Food, sleep, breathing, getting through the day. Some nights, I caught myself missing her. Not who she was at the end, but who I believed she was at the beginning. I missed the illusion more than the person. That realization hurt, but it was honest. I began to see that I had been in love with potential, with memory, not with reality. I started therapy reluctantly, Not because I thought it would fix me, but because I didn't know where else to put the weight I was carrying. Talking felt awkward at first. Saying things out loud made them real. But slowly, painfully, I began to understand my role in my own loss. Not her betrayal, but my silence. My refusal to ask hard questions. My belief that love meant enduring anything without complaint. Weeks turned into months. The pain didn't disappear, but it softened. I began to notice small things again. Sunlight through the window, the comfort of routine, the relief of not constantly trying to prove my worth. I realized how exhausting it had been to hold everything together alone. One evening, I drove past the old house without meaning to. New lights were on inside, different cars in the driveway. Someone else's life had taken root there. Instead of anger, I felt something unexpected: acceptance. That chapter was truly over. The house had moved on, and maybe, finally, I could too. Healing didn't arrive in a single moment. It came quietly, disguised as normal days that didn't hurt as much as the ones before. I stopped counting how long it had been since she left. Time became something that moved forward again instead of something I measured against loss. I began rebuilding in ways I never had before. Not financially first, but internally. I learned to listen to discomfort instead of silencing it. I learned that trust doesn't mean blindness, and sacrifice doesn't mean self-destruction. These lessons didn't feel empowering at first. They felt heavy, but they were real. Eventually, people asked if I would ever buy another house. The question used to scare me. It felt like tempting fate. But now, I understand something I didn't back then. A house is not security. Awareness is. Boundaries are. Knowing when to walk away is. I don't regret loving her. I regret abandoning myself while doing it. That distinction changed everything. Love should add to your life, not erase it piece by piece until there's nothing left. If I could speak to the version of myself sitting in that dark living room years ago, I wouldn't tell him not to sell the house. I would tell him to ask the questions he was afraid of, to demand honesty before offering sacrifice, to remember that saving something broken at any cost doesn't make you loyal, it makes you lost. Today, my life is quieter, simpler, and strangely stronger. I don't chase stability the way I used to. I build it from truth. I no longer confuse pain with devotion or endurance with love. I sold my house to save my marriage. The truth came too late to save what we were, but not too late to teach me what real love should never cost. And that lesson, unlike the house, is something no one can ever take from me.